morning, everyone. Welcome to That Geek Show, the show that puts you face to face with the expert of everything that's happening today. And the way that our show works is that it is interactive. All you have to do in order to join the conversation live face to face is come here, amthatgeek.com/live. And you'll be able to jump in the conversation and have a conversation with me and my guest in real time, face to face. So what we're talking about today is something that bugs all of us: our privacy, our identity, the way the governments are using our information, not just the government, but corporation at large. Amazon is using face recognition, social media is using face recognition. Governments are starting to judge their citizens based on their social status. And what can you do? I mean, you're sharing your information out there, you're putting your pictures, you're sharing it with your family and friends. What is private anymore? Today, we are going to talk about that exact topic with the CEO of DID, Gil Perry. Hey, Gil.
Hey, Fat, how are you?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. Gil is joining us from Israel, which is why our show is a little earlier today. Hopefully, you guys can jump on in. And what we are talking about today is exactly that, the privacy issues in our social life, because online is just going to become more and more integrated with everything we do. We cannot escape it. Our phones are online, everything is in the cloud, and our privacy is out there for grabs. So what we're going to jump into, let me introduce Gil, and then we are going to talk about exactly how AI is affecting our lives and what you and I can do about that to protect our privacy and our kids' privacy. So Gil has a broad experience as a manager and a senior developer in corporate and startup environments. In the course of his army service in the Israeli elite special forces and afterwards, he experienced firsthand the implication of facial recognition and the risks that it holds to people's privacy. Gil decided that restoring privacy will become his mission. He studied the topic, focusing on computer vision and image processing, completing his BS degree in computer science at Tel Aviv University. After his graduation and upon gaining the necessary knowledge, Gil invented one of the most complicated and groundbreaking algorithms in order to protect photos from face recognition technologies, and he created what we know today as DID. So the first question, Gil, DID, let's talk about the name. What does that mean?
Okay, so the name DID is short for de-identification.
Okay.
Basically, the opposite of de-identification, also the opposite of our ID. So basically at the DID, as you said, what we have done is we developed an algorithm that protects photos and videos from face recognition. So we are the first company that does the opposite of face recognition algorithms. We protect against them. We don't prevent from cameras to capture you. And we don't protect consumers directly. We protect companies, enterprises, and government. We process the photos and videos that they store. We process them in such a way so they are still useful for the organization. Basically, it means that they still look the same for the human eye, but not for AI. Face recognition algorithms do not recognize the subject in the photo anymore.
So you know how we say, I think it's an Israeli saying, everything that can be made by men can be broken by men, right? So Facebook and China and Amazon are going around and trying to perfect their face recognition algorithm. And then on the other side, it sounds like you're kind of like the underground guys going like, no, we're going to protect that. How does that balance work?
Okay, so it's a very good question because it can be some kinds of an arms race. But in the past 2 years, we are on this arms race by ourselves. We are constantly developing an attack to these engines and also attacking our own attack and improving our algorithm. So now basically we're 2 years ahead of face recognition engines. So I'll explain in a really high level how it works. We're using so first AI and humans work totally different. Face recognition algorithms, deep learning, basically you give an algorithm a large data set of photos and it learns to generalize. And the humans, they have context. They know things, they remember things. So they work, our human vision, our brain works totally different than AI, and we exploit that. We exploit the null space between the human vision and the AI. We work on this gap. So basically, we use the most advanced image processing and deep learning techniques. We use geometrical transformation, so we actually change how the face looks like, but we change it in a way that is not noticeable to the human eye. We also use morphological transformation, which is basically you take two objects, you transform one into the other, and so we can do that with components of faces. And we change distance between things in the face. On top of that, we use what is called GANs attacks, which is generative adversarial network attacks. One of the hottest field in deep learning now in computer vision, and a very interesting field. And I can elaborate about that more if you want. It's really interesting. Basically, it's a layer of noise, adversarial noise. Using these GANs, we create adversarial noise, which is a layer of noise, and when it's added to the photo, you get an adversarial example. Basically, a photo that looks similar for humans, but an AI classifier thinks it's something else.
So what's fascinating about that, it sounds like you're almost kind of like playing with pixels. Is that kind of thing? It's you would be moving a few pixels here and there so that the algorithm doesn't recognize it as my face, but you will recognize it as my face because you know what I look like?
Yeah, it's a nice way that how you explained it. I'll get a little bit more into the bits and bytes, so it will make more sense. So it's two parallel process.
Okay.
One is using these GANs. We know how, given a photo, our algorithm knows, we call it a one-shot attack.
Okay.
It knows how to create a layer of noise, of exactly like you said, changing a few pixels in a way that is unnoticeable to humans, but that fools exactly these face recognition classifiers. That's one step, and this step drastically reduces all face recognition engines. Then a parallel process to that is actually changing the face.
Oh, wow.
Not just playing with the pixels. So basically, given, let's say, a high resolution photo, a 1 million pixels photo, we reduce this photo to a small dimension, to, let's say, the 100 most important parameters. We do that using AI. Then there is an iterative optimization process, which basically we add a delta to this vector again and again. And every time we check, this vector represents the image, the identity. Every time we check this vector with our loss function. Our loss function is basically, in order to satisfy the loss function, you need to do three things. We need to accomplish, our algorithm needs to accomplish three things, and that's basically what you said. One is fooling the different face recognition classifiers. Two is maintaining human vision identity similarity score, which is it's an algorithm that also we developed here. It's basically, I will not get into the details too much, but basically given two photos, our algorithm can predict how humans will react to these DID changes. And third, is randomness, robustness. So if we make, for example, a thousand photos of you, then each photo will go to a different vector.
Okay.
Basically, let's say we protect all the Facebook users, then we'll upset some strong organizations which will try to learn and train on the DAD photos. So we want them to fail.
Right.
So every photo goes to a different vector. So once we satisfy these three, full face recognition classifiers, maintaining human vision identity similarity, and robustness from AI trying to overcome our protection, we get a vector that represents a new identity. Then we use some AI to improve the resolution of the photo, and then we resynthesize the photo from scratch. We do a few other things that I cannot elaborate much here, but then you get a protected photo.
So this is really interesting because it sounds like you have to run that process on each and every one of my photos that I put online. Is that right?
Yes, it's right. As I said in the beginning, currently, we are not protecting consumers directly. We've realized that consumers have a problem because they don't have the power to protect all their photos sometimes.
Yeah.
Because government asks you for your photos and your employer asks you for your photos. And Facebook, in order to be social, you have to upload photos to Facebook and driving license, and your bank asks you for KYC. So we decided first to in order to make the biggest impact fast, we will first reach the organizations who store our photos, who ask us for our photos. But yes, when you will need to make sure that all your photos are protected. But an organization, in order to be compliant with the regulations, in order to protect its employees and customers, will need to protect only his HR, physical tags, intranet, website, etc.
So if I'm a Mossad agent, which my pseudonym is, if I'm a Mossad agent, then and I'm working in China, and China has cameras everywhere, and they are just scanning my face, then China does not run their system against the Mossad's database, right? They're running it against their own databases. Is that right, or am I mixing it somehow?
So yeah, China, they hold like many governments, like Israel and the FBI. These organizations hold a database of the citizens, but also of the people who, in each country it's different, but many countries hold for many years the photos, the biometric information of the people who are entering the country. Specifically, security organizations, I prefer not to get into this. We are avoiding working with these types of organizations because we really want this solution to be available to everyone and not to one or another organization. Specifically, you mentioned China. China holds a biometric database of all its citizens.
Yeah.
And the US have one, and Israel have one. Many countries, and also banks and social networks, etc. But the governments, they want this information in order to catch people with bad intention, to find missing people, etc. But the thing is with biometric data and face recognition is that it's like a double-edged sword.
Right.
These organizations, they want to have this data in order to track everyone. But China, for example, they don't want the US to have this data. And
right.
The opposite, the same is the opposite. So let's say Israel is a good example. If the biometric database of Israel will be leaked and will be on WikiLeaks. So let's talk about the US because it's probably most of the audience. So the FBI holds data of, I think, more than 100 million citizens, I think 150 million. And eventually these databases are leaked. We know that whatever protection you're using, eventually these things are leaked. When these database will be out there on WikiLeaks, then anyone will be able to track Americans all over the globe.
So this is super interesting because you're bringing up two very important topics. One is everything that is made by men can be broken by men, right? So every system can be hacked into, and we've had many hacks of the Pentagon and many other secure institutions in the US, and it's kind of like, it's a mission, like you said, WikiLeaks, right? The whole motion of becoming more transparent and more authentic and getting everything out there. So on one hand, that's fantastic. We want more transparency, especially from our government. On the other hand, we need our privacy as well, right? There's a fine balance between both of them. And at the same time, like you said, we have the issue of espionage, and we have the issues of countries trying to spy on other countries and figuring out what's going on there, and everybody's trying to keep their own data for themselves. So there's a very fine line between how technology is moving and how it's affecting our lives. So from your point of view, when you're looking at AI is becoming more and more available and more used out there, governments are becoming semi more open, but a lot more closed because they're trying to protect their own databases and their own citizens. What does the future hold in terms of our privacy and the way that our information is being used for us or against us, right?
Okay, so I like this question because it kind of brings me to why we incorporated the DID, and also how. So basically, it started from actually we had a weird a different personal pain point. My co-founders are Sela and Deliran. So Sela and I, we served the Israeli IDF. We were not allowed to share our photos online for security reasons. 15 years ago was the beginning of image sharing on Facebook. So it got us thinking about a solution. And we started researching the field, and we basically realized, we understood how the reality is going to look few years from back then. That's today. We understood that with AI, deep learning with deep learning, face recognition is going to be more accurate than humans, and we knew how governments and security organizations use this data and use this technology. And we realized that cameras are everywhere, and our photos are not protected.
Right.
Okay, so basically, what you say, in your question, you said what the future holds for us. It's now. It's happening now, and the reality is not so good. So.
I love that you say that with a smile. It's like, well, we're here and we have to deal with it.
No, so yeah, we saw that 5 years ago. We realized that it's happening and it's going to be bad. And so what exactly did we realize? Why do you need to protect against face recognition? So first, face recognition is now everywhere. We can talk about it for a long time. But when you combine face recognition, which is now so accurate, and cameras, CCTV cameras and smartphones, which are everywhere, we're being photographed everywhere we go. And then third, our photos. So our photos, which are now biometric data, we upload them to social networks. And the most important thing is that almost every company store photos of its employees or its customers.
And of its customers?
Photos, yeah, if it's first of its employees, you have physical tags,
right?
You have internet. Then of its many times of its customers. For example, when you go to shop at Costco or
I never thought about that, but that's true because they take your picture and put it on the card. Yeah.
So actually, Walmart, they check your satisfaction while you shop using face recognition.
Wow.
Okay, at WeWork, they do a background check for you before you take an office. In the bank, when you open a new account in the bank, you need to, in many places, you need to take
Right.
photos. So that customers,
Yeah.
know your customers, they do it, but for the employees, it's almost all the times. And these photos are not protected. So when you combine these three, the reality is that anyone can recognize you, track you, steal your identity, make fake movies out of your face, and more. So this is a reality today. We realized it 5 years ago, and we decided we're going to give this solution to the world and to stop that. So the bad news is reality is not so good. And you can see what's happening in China, in what happened in Russia, and it's happening in the US. And very soon we will hear more and more bad things happening. The good news is I hope that we have managed to be ready on the right time and not too late. So our solution is ready, and that's why we basically went after on this mission to stop this reality, which basically can bring to the end of anonymity and privacy.
So the challenge with anonymity and privacy is it only for kind of like Secret Service or people in high profile, high classified profile like you were in the military, or how does it affect the everyday person that goes like, hey, I have nothing to hide? Most people is like, I have nothing to hide. Facebook can track me. I'm totally fine with that. How everything that you said right now affects the individual?
So, okay, I'll just explain with examples. First, I think one of the most important rights or like things that we have for freedom is our right to privacy, to go and do things without people knowing who we are.
Yeah.
But I think I'll give you two examples, and then I'll say what's happening in the US and Israel and places that we think that everything is more organized. But I'll start with China. Okay, so in China, they have a social ranking system.
Yeah.
And you can never know when your government will do and what it will do. So in China, if you cross the street in a red light, you will see your face on the big screen, and your social ranking will go down.
Wow.
If you shop something that you shop alcohol, your social ranking will go down. If you do something that the government doesn't like, your social ranking will go down. In Russia, a few years ago, that's the best example. There is a company named Entech Labs. They basically crawled. They created a bot. They crawled over VKontakte. VKontakte is the Facebook of Russia and the countries which speak the Russian language. Okay. They have 400 million users. So they crawled over all the photos and also on Twitter photos.
Wow.
And they made an app named Find Face, which basically you can look it up. It's not working because the government now uses the technology. But basically, this app enables anyone using his phone to take a photo of a random stranger in the street and immediately know everything about this person. Using his profile on the social media, where he lives, what he likes, etc. So what have happened since they launched this app is that many people were harassed, especially people from minorities, such as the LGBT community. In Russia, it's not legal, so you can read about it, you can Google it, and it was really a privacy nightmare. Actually, I think there is like an article in The Guardian, a privacy nightmare in Russia. They also took photos of women from adult sites.
Wow.
Using this app, they put it in the app, found where these people live, and send this, then waited for them outside houses, send photos to their families, etc. So this is what can happen. We see examples in China and Russia, and we should not think that this only happens in far countries or different countries. In the US, it's everywhere, really everywhere. So you cannot know basically what people are doing with it. So it's been used in retail, as I say, Walmart, for example, use it to check our satisfaction. Banks are moving to face recognition. The government track the citizens using face recognition and border controls. That's in the US. Our phones, we access them using face recognition. Social media is using face recognition. Even schools are moving into that, which is really not smart.
Yeah.
So you really can't know what people do with it. And actually just now, photos, private photos of more than 6 million users. I'm sorry if I'm not exactly correct with the numbers, but I think it's photos of more than 6 million users from Facebook. Private photos were leaked.
Oh, wow.
Were given to third parties. So you can just imagine, you can see what happened in Russia, what's happening in China, and you can just assume it's happening everywhere.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting about that is, do you remember Google Glass, when Google Glass came out? So,
yes, so
yeah.
Actually,
what's that?
So we saw that happening. We saw the commercials of competitors of Google Glass.
Yeah.
It was just when I had the first version, I built the first. So I researched in the university during my studies. I realized that one of the top experts in the world in face recognition is Professor Lior Wolf. He developed the face recognition algorithm which Facebook uses today, deep face.
Okay.
So I approached him. I showed him what I've built, DAD, and he got. So basically, I researched under his supervision the field of face recognition, and exactly at that time, Sela, my co-founder, and we saw commercials of a competitor of Google Glass.
Yeah.
And the commercial was this guy entering a bar, and he looks at the people around him, and he sees their profiles. And then we thought, okay, we need to move faster.
Right.
It's these things are happening, and actually, what's funny is Google people didn't accept that, and that's why the Google Glass project went down. It's now back only to enterprises.
Right. So I own the first. So for me, for example, what I loved about Google Glass was the interaction. I'm like, wow, I can hang out. Right, and I can stream everything that's happening wherever I am, and I can teach like that, like, hey, here's the market in Israel, or whatever it is, right? And I can talk to people in real time, and they can see me. And the thought was exactly that. You would walk into a bar, and you would not judge a person based on who they are. You'll start seeing like, okay, Twitter followers, clout. Remember clout? There used to be clout. But like your clout number and stuff like that. And you would walk and be like, okay, scanning people, not even looking at them, looking at their social status, and then deciding who you're going to interact with based on their social status. And that's exactly what's happening right now in China. So what's interesting is like how technology is becoming more and more embedded in our own life, right? We have, what do you call that? Android Wear right now, right? And Android is in our cars, it's in our homes. Alexa is in our homes. They're listening all the time to everything that we're saying. And at the same time, they're taking the conversations and they're comparing them to their own databases and the stuff that we uploaded into those databases. And they're creating kind of like a cyber identity about us, right? And on one hand, it can be very, very convenient because I can say, Google, play my last song, right? And they're like, okay, play the last song. I don't even have to remember what it is. So there's a convenience there that a lot of people are easily falling into. And at that same time, with the convenience, you have the risk of everything else. Alexa is in your home, Google is in your home, Siri is in your home. Everything is connected to everything else, right? And it's always good as long as you know who's controlling it, right? If when Google had "Do No Evil" in their as their byline, now they don't anymore. But when they did, it was kind of like, okay, they have my information, but they'll be good with it. But now, like you're saying, governments don't always have the best intentions when they're using their own citizens' information. So right now, you guys are protecting corporations. If I want to protect my own information, what can I do today to get off the grid, if you will? Is that even a thing?
So it's a good question. Can you still hear me?
Yes, a little low, okay. But yeah, get closer.
So it's a good question because you don't need to get off the grid. For example, these AI, Alexa, these things, they can still understand what you're saying, but without knowing your identity.
Okay? Well, kinda, so, right, Gil? Because I'm logged into Google with my own Gmail, and Gmail has my photos, has my emails, has my calendar, has my YouTube, has my location, has my Android, has everything they need about me.
Yes, so yeah, but that you let Google, you give Google this information. I think what is more scary is that they can also know your age and your gender and your ethnicity, these organizations. And then you've got scary things such as targeted marketing and things like that. So, but to go back to your question, jumped a little to something else. We are getting a lot of requests lately, especially after the latest incidents with Facebook.
Yep.
To provide a solution for consumers, which is actually it's quite funny because in the beginning our vision was privacy for all and to give this solution to the world. We had an app ready for consumers where basically everyone you can download it to the phone and take a picture and it will be DID'd right away, or nice. You can log into Facebook and Instagram, etc., and protect your photos on the phone. But it was 2 years ago, and it was before the GDPR and before the iPhone 10. Uh-huh. And we interviewed like 1,000 people or so, and people didn't know about face recognition. People just thought it's fun. Just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Actually, we were even at Y Combinator. People didn't know that face recognition is a thing that's working. Like a year and a half ago. So people thought we were paranoid. So we learned about the GDPR and we pivoted to B2B. And now, because of these incidents, because of the information database of India got breached twice, the Aadhaar, and what happened in Russia, what's happening in China, and what's happening with Facebook and Cambridge Analytica and the photos, and there is now a lot of noise of the employees of Google and Amazon, right. and the Microsoft are protesting against these organizations selling face recognition. So there is a lot of awareness, and we get tons of requests to make an app for consumers. So as more as we will get, we understand that the reality has changed. People want this solution. People need this solution. We cannot trust the big internet giants or anyone who takes personal information. And I can just say that to whoever is listening, or basically, we are hearing these requests. And as more as we get more requests, then the sooner we will provide something for consumers as well. We're not ignoring that, and we assume we will have some surprise for for 2019.
So what you're saying is that this app, rather than taking pictures with my own phone camera, I will take a picture with the app and then upload the pictures that the app creates into all my social profiles, or will I take my picture with my camera and then the app will change it?
So first, as I said, we're still considering such a move.
Gil, I'm already like, the app is out there. I know there's going to be a lot of people that are, are really worried about their own pictures and everything. And as you said, you guys were a little early to the party. It happens a lot for Israelis, right? We see the future, we're preparing for it, and then we're waiting for the world to catch up. So the world is catching up now. And so your app is going to come out in the next 6 months, 12 months. It's going to come out, right? Eventually. There's going to be demand. And the question is like, how do you use it and how do you make it safe?
Okay, so let's say we actually decide to make an app for consumers. And basically...
No, like you doing it.
So basically, you will have three options. Either you take a photo, you have in the app, you have three options. One is a camera. You take a photo and immediately it detects the faces in the photo and DID them.
Okay.
Second option you can use if you decided to use your original camera or you have photos on your phone, then you just pick them, or you let us search for identities or whatever, and we DID the photos that are on your phone. And third option is log in to your social accounts, log into Facebook, log into Instagram, Twitter, etc., and just DID the photos.
Oh, so you will run, the app will actually run on all the photos that you already have up there.
Yes, we will. We need to make it easier, minimum pain for the users as possible.
Yeah, dumb it down for all of us.
Yeah, just try to make it easier so people will actually protect their privacy. Currently, for organizations, for enterprises, what we do is it's a simple API. They send us a database. If it's the HR database or photos they have in the intranet or website, we process these photos and return them protected.
So let's take a look at that, because you have demonstration of your photos and how your software actually works. So do you want to share your screen maybe and show me how DID makes it so that your photo doesn't recognize, is not recognized by the face recognition algorithms?
Yes, I'd love to do that. So I have short demonstration. I'll share my screen.
There we go. Yep.
Okay. So, down. Okay, so this is a website that we use in order to check fast with different face recognition engines. I'll first use that in order to show in a short time to show you a few engines getting full, and then we will check with a version of Microsoft or Amazon live. So these are two photos, not unprotected photos, not protected photos of me, original photos. And here you can see we are connected to a few face recognition engines. Mm-hmm. DLib is a known computer vision library that is used by developers. Microsoft Cognitive, widely used by big organizations. Amazon Recognition with K, it's a known. Microsoft, they just won, I think, first place in the NIST for accuracy, if I'm not mistaken. Amazon, I think it's used by the US government, not sure. There are big issues around that and demonstrations of the employees. And Google FaceNet. So you see, they all say that these two belong to the same person.
So Gil, does it matter what angle of your face your photo is in? So will those systems recognize me if I'm this way and that way?
Good question. So this is a problem for face recognition algorithms. They are becoming better and better. So it depends. Some companies which are not. Some companies you need to be like 30 degrees left or right and 15 degrees up and down, and only then they can recognize you. Some use AI and they know to predict, to make a 3D model of your face, and it doesn't matter if you look to the side. Some organization can even recognize you when you are backwards or by the way you walk. So organizations are getting better and better. We here have the top experts in Israel in AI and computer vision and image processing. 17 employees, PhDs, really top experts, and it doesn't matter what angle of the face you are, we can estimate how it looks when it's straight, DID it and return it. But okay, let's put a DID protected photo.
Okay.
Hope nothing, the internet and no problem will happen.
So the reason why I was asking is because one of the photos that you're using is a very close up of your face, and the other one is far, and it kind of felt like maybe they won't recognize it because one is smaller, one is too close, angle.
But it recognized it. No, these two are really good photos. That's easy for face recognition. You can take like really bad photos.
So if I gained weight and I lost weight, they'll still recognize me?
Yes.
What about a nose job?
A nose job, yeah, that's something you can do, but you need to do other things as well. It takes some time. Let's refresh it.
That's the power of Wi-Fi.
Yes. Okay. So basically, this is a protected version. This is now a protected version. And this is an original version. Hopefully, if Wi-Fi will not make problems. Yes. So we see the 4 face recognition algorithms. I think these are 2 different people. Now I'll show you the same on Microsoft. This is the actual website of Microsoft. It's the demo. I will refresh it so it will be totally new. I upload one photo, upload original photo. That's also sometimes take.
So you know what's interesting about that is, like, on one hand, you want to protect your privacy, but a lot of us want to be famous online, right? And so also you have that little difference between, like, well, I want you, when you Google my name, I want you to see me speaking at Google, or I want you to see me whatever, but then we're risking other governments using our information against us. It's a very interesting fine line that we're stepping into.
But you don't need face recognition for that. Tag the photo with your name. Okay, now if you want to search me, if you want to see my TechCrunch pitch, right, Gil, DID TechCrunch, you find it really fast.
I actually did.
Yeah, so you don't need face recognition for that. Just upload DID photos of yourself. And especially for children, we don't know what will be in the future.
True.
And I think the biggest problem is that people are not aware. We don't know. We have a new reality here. People are using this data to just get more data about us, know where we go, what do we buy, what's our health status. And also our photos are connected to health data about us, to our financial data. Yeah. Okay, imagine the data of your bank getting leaked, and your hospital, healthcare organization. then these governments and these organizations, hackers will be able to know not just who you are and where you go, but also your health status and your bank account status. Okay, so here is original photo. You can see that Microsoft says that these two faces belong to the same person. Yeah. Now upload the protected version.
And you can see
the two faces belong to two different people. Didn't recognize me.
Yeah. So you can use exactly the same photo. For us, it looks exactly the same. So grandma can, enjoy her grandkids, but the face recognition software will not recognize it. So right now, we don't have access to that, and we are at risk for being wrongly profiled. Especially if you're in China, which is kind of weird, right? Because when you look at China and they have face recognition in the toilets, and they're pretty happy about that, So is that kind of like a mentality thing where you think like, oh, we're happy because we're safe? Or do you think it's because communism or some kind of brainwashing thing where people, get used to the technology and go like, well, it's better this way?
I don't think they are happy about it. I hear people say that, it's we don't know how it is over there, and I've talked with quite a few people. It's either that I think people don't want to say they're unhappy about how the government works. Or maybe they have a high social credit score and they are connected in some way to the government. I believe no one wants people to know what he's doing when he's out there in the street. We are used to that, where we are on the computer. Organizations know where we browse. But when we go outside in the street, people like to be free and not tracked wherever they go. It doesn't make sense that they like it.
So our future, we're looking at our future right now, and it's bleak. We can't do anything about it. What would you advise people to start doing in order to protect themselves? Because it kind of sounds like, we're screwed. Our pictures are already everywhere, and we're already being tracked, and there's not much we can do about that. Is that right?
So it's not totally right. We have organizations. So our luck is we have regulators on our side. DID is not the only organization that thought about it. First, feel free to contact us at the DID sales@sales.com, and we'll at least register you for a waiting list for a consumer app, or if you have a big organization, we'll try to help, or even a small business or school or anything. You can suggest your employer or the school manager, or etc., and we'll try to help. Second, just know where your photos at. Don't trust these the companies, internet giants. Don't upload your photos there, and at least know where your photos are. You have, under the GDPR, you have the right to be forgotten. Even organizations which are not in Europe can use. You can use these, so you have the right. If it's a company that has branches in Europe, they will listen to you, and you have the right to be forgotten. You can remove your photos from there. Yeah, that's basically it for now. Until the ID will be out there, just know where your photos are. And for example, it took me a while, but I searched for my photos, and I realized there is a photo of me at My Heritage, which I didn't want it to be there. It's connected to all my family, and I managed to remove it just a short time before they had a really big breach.
Wow. So when you say know where your photos are, we all know they're in Facebook, we all know they're in Google, right? If someone takes a picture of you and uploads it, can you delete those photos?
It's a good question. So from these organizations, you can delete if you know that your photos are there. Then you have the right to be forgotten under the GDPR. You can request to remove these photos. The problem is when you don't know if your photos have been uploaded. But if you don't know the photos have been uploaded, then most of the chances are it's not connected to your name.
Yeah, right.
So it's most of the chances are that it's fine.
So we have a question from BB. He says, how can I learn more about your technology? I'm kind of a world citizen and I live and work part of the time in China, in Europe and the US. And I'm interested in my privacy, at least in regarding to facial recognition technology. What can people like that do, Gil?
Okay, so first, you can visit our website, which is d-id.com.
Actually, guys, if you are watching us on amthatgeek.com, to the right of the video, you'll see a banner that says "Get more information, get the demo." Just click on that, and you'll be redirected into DID company. So, just come to this website. There's a link right there. You don't have to remember anything. So, other than contacting the website.
Yeah, other than contacting the website, if you have a company, then on the website, that's the best place. But I just started using Twitter, so you're welcome to add me, and I'd love to speak with you after the show or at any time and explain you everything, send you more information, join you on the waiting list for a consumer app. Actually, I'll be available right after the show on Twitter.
Fantastic. And then, Jack, I believe you're with us. If you have anything to say and you want to jump in, just nod and we'll let you in. And then Neville is here. He says, hey, he's here with us. He's from Africa, I believe. So welcome. So, Gil, last question. If we want to become, we want to reduce the amount of pictures out there about us, is just deleting our pictures from all the cloud, like removing it from Facebook, removing it from Google, will that make any dent in anything? Because it sounds like, well, Costco has it and the government has it and the bank has it. So does that even matter that they're on social?
Yes, it matters. It matters because especially the bigger companies, Facebook and the Dropbox and the Google, Apple, etc. Eventually they are good companies, okay, and they need to comply with the law and the regulations, etc. If you will delete these photos, they will not be there. And basically, the sooner the better, because people understand, hackers understand, governments understand that this data is worth a lot. So people are crawling this data. So you're not afraid, basically, about Facebook or Google doing things with it. You want to prevent third parties from crawling over these databases and gathering your photos. So the sooner you remove these photos, the better.
Love it. So is that Jack? Jack, is that you? Do you want to jump in? I'm going to unmute you. There we go.
Hey, Ifat.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Hi, Gil.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well. And it's kind of an interesting thing for me. I have a background in philosophy. I have a degree in philosophy. So, I've read a lot of law and a lot of old law and been part of discussions around privacy for quite some time. And I, for whatever reason, have attracted a number of friends who've worked for agencies, and many of whom are disaffected from those agencies because of the practices that they conduct, right? People who are in special forces and so forth. So for me, this hasn't really been top of mind. But as I shared with Ifat, one of my friends has done counterfeit fraud actions through the law here in the U.S. Against China for probably the better part of a decade and a half, and has a lot of contacts with them. And he's very concerned about this, and consistently, he's been like head counsel for Avery and major paper manufacturers and office supply companies in the U.S. He has been very concerned about this because he also, as a youth, because of his IQ, was identified as somebody to work for these agencies, and he saw very, very early on that it was both addictively exciting and extremely dangerous because of the people that they were bringing in, right? Folks with an amorality function that would be happy to execute anybody, anywhere, anytime, at the command of their superiors. So what I shared with Ifad was that through him, I've been exposed to some activities that the Chinese have been doing, such as pressuring U.S. citizens to give their information at the threat of having their family members in China persecuted if they don't.
Wow, so can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, so it's some scary information, but I totally understand you. I come from a security background as well. I think that first, if anyone needs help, and this organization has, we work less with basically with the security organizations, but if it's someone with good intentions, just want protection and not doing harm to anyone, then they can reach out to us, and we'd love to help. Then in regard of what you said about law and regulations, so we're trying to use the help of the regulators, the backwind of the regulators, the ISO privacy committees, to basically to force these organizations to use DID. Okay, so I don't know if you know, we're working with the Dr. Ann Kavukian, who developed the concept privacy by design for the GDPR, and we're working with the ISO privacy committees. So Dr. Ann Kavukian is on our board of advisors, and we are in the ISO privacy committees working on the first de-identification, on the first privacy assessment tool for de-identification of photos. We're doing lectures on the Data Protection World Forum and at NIST. We try really to get far from security organizations, but I totally feel you, and people, especially if people have sensitive background, or like just don't want their information to be out there, then they should take more careful steps with their photos.
Yeah, I'm partnering with somebody who was in Delta when he was in his early 20s, and he worked for the ROTC. He was raised around Native American culture and is extremely spiritually oriented. So when he was deployed as a medic into Central America, he came out with a lot of PTSD type symptoms because of what he saw and how he saw it was being purposely orchestrated pretty much amorally by the American government, with merely power as its primary focus. This is pretty well known on the liberal left. It's not acknowledged on the right that these things occurred, and that a lot of the noise that's happening in the U.S. by Trump about immigration is because of the disturbances we've made in the governments of all throughout South America and many other parts of the world as the so-called world power in the U.S. There's no acknowledgement of the fact that whenever you fumble around in somebody else's government, that people get hurt, and as a consequence, you basically create opposition wherever you grow, right? I mean, we have alienated much of the Middle East as a consequence of our activities. And it wasn't directly due to actual threats to the United States. It was power politics that caused us to do these things. But he has two boys, and they're half Chinese. He speaks Mandarin and is trained in feng shui. So he has a kind of push me, pull you experience. He knows there's importance for him to help bring message for transformation to people, and he doesn't want his family to suffer. And he's watched some of these folks and how they behave in government and realizes there's a big risk for him so the consumer version of your product would appeal to him immediately. The fact that he's been recruited to work with Alibaba on building their purpose statements and develop their organization puts him at risk because he spent 4 weeks in China last year, right? Which means his images have been picked up everywhere.
Yeah, so first, I'd love to continue this conversation with you later. It's
absolutely, it's pretty detailed and yeah.
It's interesting. And any consumer who wants to use our future product, but I'd like to also call if anyone has a company, a big company, if it's schools, cloud storage, social networks, security, camera manufacturers, device manufacturers can be embedded on the device and wants to use to protect its employees, protect its customers, comply with the GDPR. Under the GDPR, facial images are considered not just personal information, not just PII, but sensitive personal information because they're biometric information. Also under HIPAA, the Biometric Privacy Act of Illinois, under the California Privacy Act, COPPA, children under 13 years old. If anyone wants to comply with regulation and be a privacy leader, please contact us. And also I'd love to hear if consumers have these concerns, such as your friend, please reach out to us.
What's nice about this is that you are talking right now to the CEO of the company. So you don't need to go through any secretary or anything like that, directly to Gil, and they'll be hearing your request and obliging, hopefully. Gil, how many people do you need to be interested in your app before you're going to go consumer style?
So, the more people is more chances. So we get now a lot of requests. I think another 100,000 people, additional 100,000 people is probably gonna be a good sign.
Yeah, pushing it forward. So guys, if you're watching this right now and you care about your children's future, your own future, your family, your friends, your grandmother, everybody around you, and you want to start having a consumer app that you can use to protect your images and your bio data, right to this video, there is a link. You can click on there. And Gil, is that on your website? How do people let you know that they're interested?
Okay, so you can, on our website, we have a form that you can submit requests, and also feel free to contact me directly on my Twitter.
Okay, so we'll have all the information right there on thatgeek.com/live. Gil, last question. What is your vision for your company? Where do you see you guys going in the next 3 to 5 years?
Okay, that's a nice question. So basically, we want to be the firewall of your identity for everyone. Everyone will be able to use our protection. It will be used by governments, by private people, at schools. Your employer will let you use it. It will be embedded on our phones and at cameras. But in 3 to 5 years, what's really interesting is, to me, is that we've realized that basically we have the top experts here in hacking computer vision systems. So basically, we're now attacking face recognition, and we will not stop until we will achieve our goal, which is restoring privacy. But after we will achieve this goal and we will restore our privacy, in order to become a multi-billion-dollar company, we're going to use our expertise and also attack and find vulnerabilities in other computer vision systems, such as autonomous vehicles and smart cities and surveillance cameras. So basically, the same attack that we do now on face recognition, it's easier for us to do it for an autonomous vehicle, confusing that a stop sign is a go fast sign, confusing a traffic light instead of a red light, it's a green light. And of course, we don't have any intention of doing that, but we are the top experts with these abilities. So in 3 to 5 years, our world is going to be basically just cameras, AI, computer vision systems, seeing the world and reacting. And with our expertise, we can find the vulnerabilities of these systems and make them more robust. So that's where I see the company in about 5 years, is protecting the privacy of all, but also being the security company of all the computer vision systems, all the companies that use computer vision systems.
Well, what I love about this is that there are at least one Robin Hood out there that is, out to protect our privacy, even though everybody else is not that interested in that. So thank you for being that light in the world. Thank you for your work. I love that you are available to speak to anyone. So if anyone wants to connect with Gil, find him on Twitter. What is your Twitter handle?
So it's hard to pronounce it in English, but it's Gil, and then two lower underscore, then Perry, Perry.
So I'll link to that on the page as well. If you want to connect with Gil, you can do that on Twitter, on their website. I think you're on LinkedIn as well.
Yes.
Thank you as well. Thank you so much for your time here. Thank you, Jack, for joining us. Thank you, Nashville. And everybody who's watching us online, we'll see you in another episode of I'm That Geek 2 weeks from now. Thanks, Gil.
Thanks a lot, Ifat. Thanks.
Thank you, Gil.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye now.